Hey, what is up guys? This is Nishi from MST.TV here, back with another Market Watch episode. So today we're taking a look at a few more cards that are trending on the market just ahead of YCS Providence. So with some of them, they're cards that some people are looking to add to their decks, thanks to the new support from Alliance Insight. So we definitely could see some of them being used this upcoming weekend. But with others, it's players being a bit more forward-looking as we wait for Justice Hunters and Duelist Advance to come out later on in the year. A bunch of these cards are going to be things that seem pretty random and you might not have seen coming, so you guys will definitely want to make note of them and have them ready either for the next couple of weeks after the YCS or the next couple of months before these sets come out. Let's get started. Kicking things off, we have Incetti, Glory of Horus. So Incetti is of course a member of the Horus theme, an archetype that has been a somewhat popular engine ever since its release. The idea is that you search for King's Sarcophagus, and then you're able to bring out as many of these level 8 bodies out of the graveyard as you want for free, granting you access to Ixies or Link plays. Incetti is the most important of the Horus cards, as you can discard it and another card to search for King's Sarcophagus and then draw a card, which is amazing since this card itself is one of the bodies that can be summoned back. For a while, this card was somewhat popular, and the engine was being splashed into a few different decks, but we haven't really seen the engine pop up recently with the prevalence of Malice and Ryziel. However, it seems that some players are looking to pick up the engine again because we have the Orcus support coming in Battles of Legend, and they look like they have the potential to be really strong going into next format. Now, unfortunately, Incetti has actually always been a pretty pricey card. It has just 2 secret rare printings, and even when it got that reprint in the 2024 tins, those reprints were still a solid $18 to $20 each. The card has climbed up gradually since then, and now sits at around $25 to $30 per copy depending on which version of the card you want. I actually thought that Incetti was going to be included in Quarter Century Stampede since the whole engine does need a little bit of love, but it wouldn't surprise me either to see it in the upcoming Battles of Legend set. With this card, I would keep a playset of it if you are planning on playing it in the near future, but look to move your extra copies just in case that reprint does come. Alright, next up we have Gallant Granite. So this card is actually one that we talked about not too long ago. It's a generic rank 4 Xyz monster that lets you detach a material from it to search for a rock monster from your deck. Now before, we talked about this card being used by the Odeon deck, where you could search for Lord of the Heavenly Prison to effectively get access to any spell or trap in the game. Now however, it seems that the card is seeing some play because of Ryziel. With the deck having so many ways to get level 4 bodies out onto the field, this card lets you search for Nibiru, which acts as some protection in case your opponent's combos get out of control. Now, while Nibiru itself generally isn't enough to stop something like a full Malice combo, I think the idea is that if you set up a detonator and some other interruptions, those things combined with Nibiru should be enough to stop your opponent and hopefully set you up to OTK them on the following turn. Gallant Granite has 2 different printings, as it was originally an ultra rare in Chaos Impact and then it got a secret rare reprint in the tins from its year. We saw this card at around $4 or $5 before when we were talking about it, but it has actually continued to go up even further and now sits at around $8 to $10 per copy. Definitely worth noting if you have some of these, since this was literally a 50-cent card at one point. We'll have to wait and see the results from YCS Providence this weekend to see just how real of a tech option this is. Next up, I want to touch on Pre-Preparation of Rites. So this card is a spell that helps out ritual decks, searching for a ritual spell from the deck, and then also letting you add a ritual monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand, whose name is mentioned on that ritual spell. So this card is one that has seen some play here and there. It's a bit restrictive because not every ritual spell mentions a specific monster's name, so it was good in something like Voiceless Voice, but it doesn't do anything for a deck like Nekroz. Now however, one unexpected twist from Alliance Insight is the emergence of the pure Mitsurugi deck. Although the theme was seen before as just an engine that was used alongside Ryziel, we've actually seen a decent amount of pure Mitsurugi running around online, and it seems like a really cool deck. Of course, pre-prep goes pretty hard in that deck with the new support, since the new ritual spell Mitsurugi Mirror mentions Mirakumo, Habakiri, and Mitama in its text. Pre-prep is one of those cards that was in Rarity Collection 1, so as we've acknowledged with a bunch of other cards that were in Rarity Collection sets, finding a copy of the card should be pretty easy with most of those other lower rarities. However, the QCR printing has shot way up in price, as it was $10 to $15 back in March, but has steadily climbed up with the reveal of the new Mitsurugi cards and now sits up at $30 each. It's definitely going to be interesting to see this weekend just how well the new Mitsurugi cards perform, and if they do, I would certainly expect QCR pre-preps to continue upwards right alongside them. On to the next one, we have Nash Knight. So this card is a generic rank 5 Xyz monster, and at first glance it seems pretty innocent. You can detach 2 materials from this card to attach a number from your extra deck to this with a number between 101 and 107, and then you also attach another face-up monster on the field to it. So at first glance, this makes it seem like a generic, non-targeting interruption that could be used by the K9 strategy, which is fair enough. However, it's also worth noting that you can actually use Nash Knight to attach the base form of a number, then go into Chaos Xyz Nash Knight, and then go into one of the Chaos numbers, and now you have a Chaos number with the corresponding regular number form underneath it, which would unlock some really powerful effects. I actually found out about this from a short over on Yassine's channel. Make sure that you guys go check him out because he does post a lot of really neat stuff, and I'm always learning a lot from him over there. Anyways, it's looking like this is something that players are considering using in extra decks early on in the OCG, since the K9 cards are really strong, both as a deck and an engine as well. Unfortunately, Nash Knight was only ever printed in Duels from the Deep as a super rare, and that is one of the worst sets that has ever been printed. Because the card is actually really hard to find, it's currently around $4 to $5 at the moment, which honestly isn't too bad given its potential applications in the future. If you are interested in playing K9, then it might be a good idea to pick up one of these to have it available as an option, just in case. Okay, so this one's one that I personally find sort of weird. I want to briefly mention Live Twin Kiss-a-Kill Frost. So the Live Twin strategy, as we mentioned in the last Market Watch, is one that's looking really strong going into this upcoming format. The Fiendsmith engine is unhit completely, so it synergizes well, and Live Twins get a new Link 1 and main deck monster in Alliance Insight. Kiss-a-Kill Frost is another card that the deck likes to have available as an option. It's a free extender if you have Lilla on the field, which is particularly good if your Lilla gets hit by an Effect Veiler or an Infinite Impermanence, but this card is also useful because if, while it's in the graveyard, your opponent adds a card from the main deck to the hand, you can banish this card from your graveyard to draw a card. So yeah, this is something that I believe is generally run at 2 in the Live Twin deck. As we mentioned last Market Watch, basically all of the Live Twin monsters have seen some sort of reprint, so for the most part they're pretty accessible. Live Twin Kiss-a-Kill Frost is really strange because it's its mid-rarity printing that has shot up in price a lot. This card has a super rare reprint from one of the tins. It was originally an ultra rare in Lightning Overdrive, and it does have a Starlight printing. The Starlight printing's up at $200 or $250, something crazy like that. But for some reason, the ultra rare version of this card is sitting at $15. That's especially strange because it's so much higher than the super, which is only 25 cents or so, but it's not like the ultra really stands out that much more, or it's like that much nicer of a rarity than the super. That said, I don't really know why it is that the ultra is something that the market has just sort of randomly determined is that much more valuable. But if you do have ultras, I would definitely recommend offloading them at this inflated price and just picking up and playing with the supers instead. Here's a pretty strange one. We have Boral Code Dragon. So this card is a generic Link 3 monster that requires 2 or more effect monsters to make, and it has a few different effects. While it's on the field, it can't be destroyed while a Link monster points to it, and at the start of the damage step, if you use 3 monsters to make this card, you can destroy all monsters on the field. Its graveyard effect is, I believe, the reason it's really being used, where you can banish it from your graveyard to banish a dark monster with 3,000 or more attack points from the field, and then special summon a topologic monster from the extra deck. So recently, Ultimate Slayer has been a pretty popular card to deal with Ryzeal Detonator. However, there generally aren't too many great link options to play, as you're stuck with either Bucephalus or Trouble Sunny, unless you're going to dump a link monster that you would have otherwise actually made. Boral Code is a pretty decent alternative. However, if you have the extra deck space to run something like Trizbana or Zeroboros, the only thing I can really think of banishing with this card is a Heart Scriptor, maybe an access code if your opponent made it to blow up your board but wasn't able to win the game last turn. Anyways, Boral Code has just 1 ultra rare printing from Burst of Destiny, and the card wasn't popular at all, so it never even got a tin reprint. This card was basically bulk being like 25 cents, but it's now up to $5 to $6 per copy. Just something to consider digging up out of your holo bulk, because maybe this is a tech card that players will be adding to their extra decks at YCS Providence. And finally, the last card I want to touch on for today is Memento in Dark Blade. So the Memento deck has been pretty popular recently. Ever since it won YCS Houston, the deck has gotten a ton of attention, and thankfully Anguich and Bone Party were reprinted in Quarter Century Stampede, so the deck is actually pretty budget. Of course, however, players have been turning to the next card to just try and buy it out, so people were looking at Combined Creation. However, after that, it turns out that people next went after Dark Blade. This card is really strong for the deck and is generally used at 3. On summon, you can discard a Memento card to pop an opponent's spell or trap card, and then you can also destroy a Memento monster you control to special summon a level 3 or lower Memento monster from your deck. Now normally this is going to get you to Anguich, who can then bring out the Sea Horse and get the deck's whole combo going. The weird thing is that this card has just one super rare printing from back in Valiant Smashers, but it is something that's played at 3. There has been enough demand for this card that it has gone from being 25 cents to now being a really solid $4 to $5 card over the course of the last month. Definitely a strange one, but this really is just free money if you guys happen to have some of these lying around. Just another card for you guys to be aware of and try to dig up out of your bulk to flip. Alright guys, that is all I have for today's episode. Definitely excited for YCS Providence because it is going to be our first event with the new cards from Alliance Insight being tournament legal. I'm definitely really excited to see how the Mitsurugi cards in particular perform, because that deck looks really cool and I kind of want to try it out. Anyways guys, if you did enjoy today's market watch, make sure you let me know by hitting that thumbs up button. Make sure you leave a comment in the comment section down below. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time guys, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV.